like, okay, so you did these 3 tweets, which were all actually factual. So they were just facts that you're just like, hi, here's a fact. And they're like, oh, we don't do those anymore. Never mind that the population of people that you're talking about, if you were to rifle through their Twitter, it's just a cesspool of fucking cocks dressed as little girls and perversion and old men going to themselves and like every gross, disgusting thing that you can't even imagine. Yeah, changing their fucking shitty diaper with a boner. Those are all fine, and they're more than welcome to come to the game. Actually, come in your fetish gear, literally come in it, and then come to the stadium in it, and then come everyone in the stadium, and that would be fine because you have a penis.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing now.
Object to it.
Yeah, no, it's
we've got a problem.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just the sheer length of time that they spent doing it, but it's the fact that they pulled the Premier League in. The Premier League took it upon themselves, and the way that they do this, they do have a team set up to do things like this, and it's generally to tackle like racism and abusing of players when you're in the ground, so you can identify people and whatnot. You know, that's what it's there for. Not for what they've used it for me.
Because there's a bunch of trans players that they're trying to protect from you. Yeah, because you're going to come in there and.
Well, I think the argument was in the email that just the merely having to sit near me was a danger to everybody in there. You know, it would be dangerous to have someone so openly transphobic in the football ground. You know, there was actually one in there that said,
how powerful must you be?
I honestly, I've changed my bio now. I introduced myself as the scariest lesbian in Newcastle now, because I must be pretty damn scary if they feel the need to do this to me, to be honest with you. So.
You're not safe to sit next to because your tweets have facts in them, lady.
They go, you don't even go here.
I wanted to just ask a slightly more kind of like personal question, I suppose, because this has been going on for, weeks and moving into months now. So it's been quite the experience for you, with a lot of different waves of emotion and drama along the way, right? And you and I, because, my support role for you has just been purely emotional. You've got all the other amazing people doing the legwork and getting things lined up for you, so my kind of connection with you has just been emotional support. And I've said to you several times that I feel a lot like what you've been put through. It's almost like you're kind of the perfect person to have been picked on here, because I know you've been close to breaking point at times. I know it's been really, really difficult, and this is hurting you. You've been sanctioned in a way that you absolutely don't deserve. It's still unfinished business. But I feel a lot like you are doing something really incredible for the movement as a whole, if that makes sense. It's like, someone who has the fortitude to handle this and is brave enough to speak out and, stand in your conviction and tell it to the world, on the news. And all over the newspapers. And I know that's been terrifying, but I am so incredibly proud of you, because I know that whatever the final result with all of this is, even if you don't get a win along the way, even if it does just continue to be this ridiculous nightmare, you've got eyes on this. You're going to help our movement to grow. You're going to help people to, really understand the extent of how insane this all is. And so for that, I just wanted to ask you, how does that feel? Like, do you feel that you've played an important role in things for all of this all? Because, I do. I think you're amazing. So.
Sure. I do actually get asked this quite a bit, and I still find it all quite surreal. It's almost like, from a very young age, I learned how to disassociate. So there's certain times when things have been happening and I'm going through things. It's like I'm watching myself do it. Do you know what I mean? And I do, and I don't think I've done it on purpose. I just think that's something programmed into me now, that when I'm in a particular state, that's what it's going to do. So I think I'm still in a bit of shock from it all as well, to be honest with you. And I don't know when that's going to wear off. And I've only just come to this realization in myself, because I started really grieving my dog last week. And that was the realization that those 3 weeks before, like I had 3 weeks before, before all this kicked off, so he passed away. I think it was maybe about 2.5, 3 weeks. It was maybe close to the second week of October, but I know it hadn't been very long. And I think I was still in shock. And then this came, so it's been like a double whammy almost. And I think the shock's just starting to, because this happened, it's delayed my reaction for my dog. So I think last week I was really grieving him. This week I'm still really bad. He's in my thoughts a lot. And I think it's just the realization he's not coming back now. But I'm not crying every time I talk about it. So I think I'm getting better. It doesn't feel like what people say. Like I don't know. It's weird. Maybe that's why I've been picked, because I can't quite comprehend what I've been picked for.
It's interesting because you started by saying, you had really only told Kay, and you were afraid to tell, your partner and your parents or whoever. And now you're like on the news. Like, guess secret's out.
Boo.
That
I actually, because that petition that was made for me, Kay, that's been doing the rounds again. Like someone brought it up, so I retweeted it again. And bless them, someone was like, well, you're not doing a very good job at being anonymous. You're all over the place. I was like, no, this was months ago. It's just, people are doing the rounds with it again. I'm not anonymous anymore. That's long gone.
So what happens next? Like, what's because I know they've given absolute clarity that you are banned until when? 2026?
Yeah, I think the 2026
right?
season. Yeah.
What can you do between now and what's your next move?
So at the minute, we've put a complaint into the ICO, which is the data protection regulator. That was sent, oh God, it's probably been 2 weeks. Is it 2 weeks since all this broke? It will be now, won't it? Or yeah, nearly 2 weeks since it all broke. So yeah, I sent that about 2 weeks ago. So there's that. We are looking at the possibility of taking legal action for a breach of the Equality Act. I've given my lawyers, permission to look at whatever they need to look at, and they'll let me know whatever's in the crack in the meantime. I have appealed, and they got a very detailed appeal from me in all the areas, stating my protected belief and things like that. They've just ignored everything in there and gone. They even mentioned the Maya Forstater case, and they basically came back and said that didn't apply to me. Something I haven't read it properly. My lawyers are the ones who've read it, because I won't sit and read what they're trying to say about me, because I know it's not true, but I do know that I will tell you, they've flat out denied handing, because this is the worst thing about it all. It wasn't even like a random person on the internet who did this. It was the football club decided after over 3 months of trying to figure out a way of how to ban me, they then decided, you can see them plotting about reporting me to the police. And then all of a sudden, there's another complaint email comes in, complaining, saying they had to sit next to me at the Man City game. And it was terrible because I've got such bigoted views.
Such a load of shit.
I know. It's like saying you don't want to sit next to a Tory, isn't it? Honestly. So like that came in, and then it was like, it said, I'll be sending this information to the police. And then all of a sudden, as if by magic, I'm under investigation by the police. And the club want me to believe they had nothing to do with it, when the only way the club knew before I knew is because they're the ones who handed my information over. And, I've spoken to the police, because we made a complaint to the IOPC, which is the independent, police commission for investigating. They're basically the line of duty of police, I think. You won't get that reference, Mel, but anybody in the UK does. So yeah, I've spoken to them, and I've sent them back with things that I want to know. So I will find out everything I want to find out with respect to that. So I think it's more of it's a work in motion, because I actually sent a subject access request into the Premier League as well. So I think they've got until close of play tomorrow to get that back to me. So my lawyers are waiting for that, and then that'll be going straight over to them. And I am in the process as well. Harry Miller, Fair Cop, is taking action against the police for the way I was treated. It's looking highly likely that I've been stalked and harassed. So there is avenues for that within there as well. So there's a lot to come, I think. It's such a big, there's just so much has gone on, but there's still so much more to come. So I'm just grabbing my nice quiet days when I can. Like, I was so happy I could come home today and play Call of Duty.
I bet. Just some normalcy.
Yeah. How are you getting your football fixes at the moment? Are you able to enjoy the football at all? Or are you kind of like disheartened because you're not able to get to matches?
I support the team. It's been really difficult. I've had to separate everything, and I'll still support the team, but it's not the same. And in all honesty, it's never going to be the same again, Kay. Because even if they let me back in there next week, I'm not going to go. I don't feel safe. The very thing that they've banned me for saying that I make people feel unsafe, they've now put me in a situation where I don't even feel safe to go drinking around there anymore. That's the bottom of my street, Kay. They're building a fan zone. I'm not going to feel comfortable to go in there. I won't go near the city centre on a match day. Not really. If I'm anywhere out watching it, it's somewhere well away from the stadium in the city, or I'm down in Whitley Bay. But most of the time, I just watch it in the house now. So, but it'll never be the same again. They've ruined that for me, which that's very upsetting. So,
I'm just thinking, like, they don't want women to play the sports. They don't want women to watch the sports. They just don't want women. How are they going to get, who's going to make a babies? If I just don't fucking understand. Well, I don't know how they, like, do these people all hate their mothers? I mean trans rights activists. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't get it. I don't get what the end game is.
I think in some areas, the end game, when it comes to the surgery side of everything, it is absolutely big pharma pushing all of that to make their money. And it's unfortunately something that's, because we don't really have that over here, because we're under the NHS. So everybody gets their healthcare through the NHS. That's if and when you can actually get it. But that's another story.
Are they doing what they do over here and just paying for everybody's surgeries?
There's been the odd few. The biggest one that people are trying to fight is the puberty blockers at the moment over here, I'd say. Because the thing is, because you're on the NHS, and for people to get the actual diagnoses that they need, there is such a long waiting list that, to be fair, more often than not, it's going to take them a little while to get there. But what everybody's major issue is really in this country is the way it's being shoved into your face, the way, and it's just the way everywhere's politicized. It's in the schools, I had a friend of mine tell me the other day, her daughter came home crying. I think she's 8 or 9. My goddaughter came home crying because they've been teaching her mental health at school. And then she come home another day saying that there was over 60 odd genders. And she went, no, there's 2, stop it. And that's what people don't like. There's just so much to it. But I do believe as well, like the teachers in the schools, some of them must know what they're saying's wrong. Some of them, some of them, yeah. But I do believe there are some of them that actually think they're on the right side. And I do believe that there are trans people terrified, thinking that there is this genocide going on, because of course you're going to. If you just live on the internet and that's all anybody's telling you, and anybody who, if all anybody's telling you 24/7 is if they don't 100% buy in, they're the enemy. Of course they're going to go into a spiral. There's some truly vulnerable people getting caught up in this right now, and I do think if you want to look for the people to blame, it's always going to be the people at the top. I always say, and I think many people do, follow the money.
Yeah, I was trying to explain that to someone, and they said, "Oh, but what about the doctors? But what do they stand to gain?" And I'm like, they don't have a choice. Do you understand that the guidelines are now such that if they don't play along, they lose their license? Like, what choice do they have? I mean, obviously they should stand up and speak out and not fucking do it, because they know better.
There's another one as well. I think it was, I listened to a lot of Buckangel. I love Buck. And he read out an email on his show the other week. And it was from a teacher who wanted to remain anonymous. And this teacher basically said that these kids in their school had learned how to weaponize this gender thing. And they know now, they know that they can just come in. I think she said like a third of her class was identifying with some sort of LGBTQIA plus spectrum. And it's not just, oh, I'm a lesbian, I'm gay. It's always, I'm non-binary or I'm trans. It's non-binary or like mostly it's non-binary, whatever that means. But there's teachers quitting in America, this is not so much in this country, I don't think at the minute, but teachers quitting in their droves because kids have learned how to weaponize this whole thing, and they've been allowed to. Like, we need to understand kids are smart as well. And if they think they can do this and it's going to get them an easier life, get them out of trouble if they do anything wrong, like, of course they're going to adopt it and run with it. That's the danger as well, because you will have kids, you'll have the ones who genuinely get caught up in it, you'll have the ones who are manipulating the system.
Yeah, I worry a lot about the teens, the adolescents who are taking all of this in. 13, 14 years old, that's when they're just starting to have those first, starting to think about their sexuality. Biology is really ramping up a little bit, and they're starting to explore their own physicality. Now, if you take any kid in their developing years who has experienced some kind of trauma, a sexual trauma perhaps, or some sort of body dysmorphia, an eating disorder, they've suddenly developed negative feelings about their body because they're on the swim team and they don't like how they look in their swimsuit, whatever. And then that spirals and that grows and adds arms and legs. And then you tell that kid, oh, you can escape your body. Oh, you don't like that one? You can escape. You just have to say so. And then some absolute bellend will pump you full of drugs for the rest of your life, and you'll be fat. You won't ever feel this way ever again. And it's lies. It's just lies. They're selling this false promise to so many kids, and that for me is absolutely infuriating. Forget what they're doing to the even younger ones, it's just an abomination. But yeah, it is all about following the money. And a part of me kind of thinks maybe the powers that be would find it quite useful if your kids are having children, having big families, let's try and keep numbers down a little bit. There's a part of me that's thinking about that. And what easier way to do that than to chemically castrate a population of kids? There's got to be an element of that as well. It can't all be about the money. But these kids, yeah, they're lifelong patients, aren't they? Even desisters and detransitioners, if they've gone a certain extent of the way, you can't just switch the off button. So they're still, oh, I've changed my mind, I want to be a woman again as I was born. But unfortunately, you're stuck with injuries and parts of your body missing and completely rewired brain and a completely different warped view of society. And how the hell do these people recover? It's just devastating. So yeah, they're going to be lining pockets until the day they die, and it just breaks my heart.
Yeah, the brainwashing of all of the younger generations really worries me, especially when you see, which we always do, we see the they're 20 years old, they know literally everything, and they're on TikTok telling you how it is. And that's what they're all like. They're going to tell us how it is. Like, you don't fucking know anything. You just got here. But we were all teenagers before.
Yeah.
It's just, they're so indoctrinated, and everything around is affirming it. We talk about this every time, that I still feel like it's so big. It's got so much money behind it. It's in every government and every organization. It feels like Goliath,
I mean, there's also, I think, when you're younger, you have no sense of forever. You really don't.
Right.
You have no
Yeah.
sense of forever. I didn't. I know I didn't. And I only know because I'm starting to realize my own mortality even, I'm coming
Right.
to terms
Yeah.
with that. But you don't realize
Yeah.
that when you feel like you're invincible. They don't realize that there are going to be consequences to all of this. They do believe that it's the right thing to do. And it's, it's not until it's smack bang in the face, that's the biggest story that comes out of the detransitioners is, they were sold a lie and now there's no going back. And I can't remember whose podcast it was I was watching, but they used a really good analogy about like not realizing what you're losing until it's gone, and they said like when that comes to rights or whatever. And he used the analogy of when they were building the Berlin Wall. When they were building the Berlin Wall, there was nobody rushing over to try and get over into Western Germany because they weren't that bothered. It was just the wall was there. It wasn't until the wall was smack bang there and they couldn't get over there anymore that they suddenly realized what had been taken away from them. And that was when the uproar began. It's very, very much the same. Some people are too busy living their lives. Some people are just so busy in their own. There's a lot of people that don't even realize this is bloody going on.
I know.
And that's the craziest thing about it. And that's what they're relying on as well, is for people to stay oblivious. So
Well, people are happy to do that. I can attest to my personal experience with those people.
Yeah.
And I especially love the, challenging me on every single point. And I'm like, I have a whole show. Like, you could just watch it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't
That's too
then.
easy.
Stand here and fucking grill me, and I'll try to remember all of the talking points of all the experts.
Yeah, having these real world conversations, because it's such a rabbit warren. So you start to talk about, you start with
Children.
puberty blockers, and you end up talking about drag queens and schools and teachers and corruption and the NHS and surgeons, and it's just like it just spirals out of control. There's really no way to have this conversation in one sitting, and then just when you think you've explored every corner of this dark and sinister world, something else comes up. I don't think I'll ever stop being shocked, I don't think I'll ever stop being absolutely disgusted by the daily revelations, the things that we're seeing on Twitter where anything goes, I mean, the sight of those Spanish kids the other day, I'm like, really? Okay, this is just today's shit show.
Appalling.
It never ends. It never ends. So I don't know. I think I want to keep talking about this as much as I can to get the people, all the sleepyheads who don't have a clue what's going on, so they know what the score is, and everything in between. It's going to be about looking after my kids, just looking after my two kids, because what else can you do? I'm very lucky here in the middle of nowhere. It hasn't quite hit yet. My kids' school, it's very, so far, there hasn't been a lot of chatter around trans ideology. And my kids, I'm hopeful that they're at the age now where they get it. They're like 12 and 13 now, and they're just like, yeah, there's two genders. I'm not into all that other stuff, and I'm like, yep, that's where you stay. Do not deviate from that. It's scary raising kids in this world today. So I'm glad that I'm here, like largely away from all of the madness for the sake of my children, but I can't stand what's happening to other people's, and I think that's part of our duty, isn't it? It's to protect everyone's kids, because there are so many stupid parents out there. Not all stupid. Some are irresponsible, some are misled, misguided, sold false promises. But, there's a lot of really incapable, incompetent parents in the world. I'm like, who's looking after them? Who's going to keep them on the straight and narrow? Who's going to stop them from chopping off their body parts? So I feel I'm doing this primarily for the kids. I'm all for women. I love us girls, but it's always got to be the kids first for me,
Yeah. They don't deserve any part of their childhood stolen from them. It's not fair. They didn't ask for any of this.
For them to get caught up in it.
Yeah, it's really not. And then, I had another friend, and I was talking about the kids stuff, and she was like, well, a lot of people are probably, gonna just say, well, you don't have kids, so it's none of your business. And I'm like, well, they can say that. Like, that's weird. I'm not allowed to care about children because I don't have any. I mean, I was a kid.
Yeah.
I care about the potential of another human being's life. I don't really give a fuck if people think that I can't talk
Yep.
about it because I don't have kids.
Yeah, I hear you. And another kind of example that's similar to that, I think it was just yesterday, that, God, I can't remember the conversation precisely now, but some TRA talking about the LGBT, you know, the whole alphabet. And I'd said something about, you know, put the scissors in. It was LGB, scissors, TQ. And they're like, says the cis het white women. And I'm like, I beg your pardon. I don't need to be a part of the LGB to defend them. You know, it's like, so my opinion doesn't matter. But if LINZI, the lesbian, comes in and says, well, I'm a lesbian, and I think exactly what she just said, you're still not going to accept it from her either. So
Right.
why does it matter if the cis het white woman has an opinion on this? You know, my opinion largely aligns with the vast majority of the LGBT community. So fuck off with that. And Mel, you can speak for my kids. You can protect my kids. You know, you don't need to be a mother to say the right thing. You're welcome. All right.
Yeah.
Shall we wrap it?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Anything else?
Well, I mean, I want to talk about all of it all the time forever, but then I'll be
We should just make it like a weekly thing where we sit. We'll bring alcohol next time.
We do need to do a happy hour type thing where we just sit and talk shit about like everything we saw on Twitter that week.
Yeah, just slam everyone.
I slag everybody off.
Tell you what I think about that.
Well, I do notice, Lindsay, that you're apparently not a part of the pronoun police because you don't hate buckangel and you're willing to call him a he. So that's interesting. I didn't know. I never know who's what now.
Do you know the thing with me with Buck is he does really good work. He speaks out, and in my opinion, we need people from all sides. We need everybody speaking up about this. Like, and maybe it's because I'm not as far in, and maybe there's some people that have just lost the tolerance for pronouns. But if I choose to, I'll do it, but I won't be told to do it. You know, that's the way I am.
Exactly.
So I choose to use he for Buck, but it's easy for me to use he for Buck because he's put so much effort into his transition. It doesn't feel unnatural when I call Buck a he. I look at Buck and I see a he, you know, so it's very easy for me to do, as opposed to someone with bright red cherry lipstick on with a big beard bigger than Santa Claus, and you know, with a big horseshoe through his nostrils. Like, that's there's not going to be a she coming out of my mouth for that.
Sorry, buddy.
Sorry.
This is what I'm struggling with at the moment. You know, this kind of subcategorization of us gender critical women. You know, I didn't ask for another label to be slapped on me. I barely like being gender critical. You know, I think sex realist is where we're kind of all, you know, I think we're agreeable that makes sense, right? But there's been this kind of further division of us all, and the whole ultra light thing. I'm like, do not call me GC light. This is my priority in life, is to shine a light on all of this nonsense. Do not call me some sort of lightweight version. You know, what I have an appreciation for is that everyone has their own personal boundaries. Okay, so and your job is to hold your line, not somebody else's. All right. And, you know, you referring to Buck, I fully agree with you, right? Very, very masculine appearance. If I walked past Buckangel in the street, I don't know. I've never been in the same room as Buckangel, but presumably he presents very much as a man and isn't often, you know, viewed as a woman. My personal line with pronouns, I don't like it. I don't use preferred pronouns. And I'll be honest, I think if I were in a one-to-one with Buckangel, because there's a respect for the person they are, I think I would automatically resort to kind of they, you know, just not putting a he or a she onto anything, because it's like just skirt around it a little bit, because it's the best way that I can be respectful towards them without crossing my own personal boundary. And I stand by that. We're dealing as well with being kind of shamed and judged for who we're associating with. And I find it interesting that some people in the movement are able to claim that there's no guilt by association, and then others will, you know, you're a bin fire if you called a trans woman she. once upon a time. Even if it was on Facebook in 2012, they'll find it and you will become a light, you know?
Yeah.
Like, fuck off with that. It's not even the point of what we're doing. And this whole, you know, it's a slippery slope. Hold the line because this is how we got here in the first place. Is that, or is that not the mantra that we have heard for the past week or two since the whole Andrew Doyle thing kicked off? It has been a mantra. You know, every time I've been attacked for having slightly more relaxed points of view around pronoun use, it's been, this is how we got here in the first place. And I'm going, but it's not. But it is not. You know, gay men have referred to one another as she, queen, bitch, you know, all kind of female language, right? No one had a problem with that until the TQ started to cross boundaries, right? They have taken it too far. I don't think it should be up to us to adjust and adapt, you know?
Yeah. My friend James, God rest his soul, he didn't make it through the first 3 weeks of lockdown. He drank himself to death, but he was a gay bestie, and all of the years I know him, hey girl, hey sugar tits, you know, like that's what we called each other. It's like, hey girl, like with just a long fucking R that goes on forever. Like, obviously I know he's not a girl. Like, that's my friend James. He's a dude. He likes other dudes.
Nobody's confused about the fact that he is a biological male.
No one's confused. Another thing, you know, I'm seeing all of this, you know, the shouting that's going on and the, you know, you're not good enough to be a part of this. And I'm sitting here thinking of everything that I've given up that people don't know, because I'm not trying to tell my whole personal life online because of doxing fucking psychopaths. But, you know, my master's is on hold, not just for this reason, but I've had to narrow what my master's can even be about because the American Psychological Association is ideologically captured and I want to be a psychologist, so can't do that. And then the field of work that I was going to go to, in January, I knew I was going to go back to work. It's been a while because I just finished school in May, Lindsay. I don't know if you knew that, but I finished school in May of last year, and then I took a bunch of time off, and then I took summer off, and I was like, oh wait, now it's the holidays. I should take those off too. So then I like still didn't work. And then I went to go look for work, and I knew exactly what I was going to do, and I knew what population I was going to work with. And I can't really say because it's small, and I just, again, I don't want to even like go close to doxing myself, but I couldn't even work in the field I want to with this vulnerable population that I am so good with and that they need me so desperately. But I knew that if I were going to go into this job, it was only a matter of time that I was going to witness child abuse and not be able to say anything. And I was like, I can't go into this career and then start relying on the income and do all these things and then have it ripped out from under me. Like, I've sacrificed a lot. So shut the fuck up about like, and by the way, I don't even use wrong pronouns for people, but like, I just don't, like you said, Lindsay, I won't be fucking told. I won't be told, but like, also shut the fuck up about it. Cause y'all know me, y'all don't know what people give up. And then, you know, putting our faces out here like this, like, anyways.
Yeah. What a way to end it, Mel.
Schedule, my ass hurts. I only ever get to like an hour, maybe an hour and 30 in, and then my ass starts to hurt, and I'm like, oh, like need to stretch.
That's perfect anyway, because as we know,
my ass has gone completely.
Yeah, people can't sit through can't sit through long episode. All right, so her ass hurts, and Lindsay's gonna fight the power, and I'm gonna go be ridiculous somewhere. Hey, until next time. Thank you so much, by the way, Lindsay. Thank you.
Oh, that's all right. We'll do it again, and next time we'll just bring alcohol.
Yeah. All right. Absolutely. I would love.
I'm up for that one.
Yeah. All right. See you girls on Twitter.
Bye.
It is man.